In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, students. So the topic of our today's lecture is monosaccharides. Today we will be discussing about the biomedical importance of monosaccharides. Okay, so let's start with the glucose, which is the most often talked about monosaccharide. So what is glucose? What actually I'm asking that what is glucose chemically? You know, yes, it is an aldohexose. What is it? It is an aldohexose. What does it mean? It means that it will contain 6 carbon atoms with an aldehydic functional group. Okay, so it contains 6 carbon atom with an aldehydic functional group, and it is a constituent of many polysaccharides and disaccharides. Okay, so the disaccharides include fructose, sucrose, and maltose, while the polysaccharides, briefly, if we say, they will include glycogen and starch. Okay, and it is found in fruits. It is the fuel of life, and it is the major source of energy for what? It is the major source of energy for fetus. And as it is important for the ATP formation, that is why it is known as fuel of life. That is why it is called as fuel of life. And the excess of glucose is transformed into fat in our body, which represents the reserve form of energy in our body. Okay, so glucose is a constituent of many polysaccharides and disaccharides. It is found in fruits. It is the fuel of life, major source of energy for fetus, and the excess of glucose is transformed into what? It is transformed into fat. Now glucose can be reduced into sorbitol. It can be reduced to sorbitol. Now coming towards fructose. Now what is fructose chemically? It is an ketohexose. What is it? It is ketohexose. So fructose is a ketohexose. What does it mean? It means that it will contain 6 carbon atoms with a keto functional group. Okay, so fructose participates in the formation of a disaccharide known as sucrose. Sucrose, we have discussed we have discussed here that sucrose constitutes of fructose and glucose. What does it constitute of? It constitutes fructose and glucose, and fructose is found in fruits, honey, and semen, while it has a percentile sweetness of 175%, which makes it the most sweetest of all the sugars, all the natural sugars. It is the sweetest sugar among the natural sugars. It is the sweetest one. And in the liver, it undergoes transformation. So in the liver, fructose is transformed into what? It is transformed into glucose. Fructose is transformed into glucose, and of course fructose can also be reduced, and it is reduced to sorbitol and mannitol, which will coming towards galactose, which is also an hexose, which contains 6 carbon atom. Okay, so galactose can be reduced to dulcitol. What it will be reduced to? It will be reduced to dulcitol. Furthermore, galactose is a component of milk sugar. Galactose is a component of milk sugar which we call lactose. So the composition of lactose is glucose plus galactose. The composition of lactose is glucose plus galactose. It is milk sugar, and galactose participates in the formation of glycolipids and glycoproteins. It is also an essential part of brain and nerve biochemicals necessary for infants. Okay, so it is necessary for infants. What was necessary for fetus? Yes, glucose. Glucose is necessary, or it is the major source of energy for fetus, while galactose is important for infants, newborn children, while fetus is the 3rd to 8th week of intraembryonic life. Okay, so galactose is important for infants, and glucose is important for what? It is important for fetus, and it is a part of brain and nerve biochemicals. Okay, now coming towards the conversion of galactose, same as fructose, is converted into glucose in the liver, and if this conversion does not take place, that it will lead to galactosemia. Okay, galactose, if not converted into glucose, will lead to what? Will lead to galactosemia. Galactosemia will produce its effect on liver and brain. Okay, now reviewing galactose will be reduced into dulcitol, and galactose is necessary for what? It is an essential biochemical of brain and nerve cells, so it is necessary for infants which have rapid growth. Okay, so now coming towards mannose, which will be reduced into mannitol. It has a fewer characteristics, so the mannose will be reduced into mannitol, and it is the constituent of polysaccharides and glycoproteins. It is a constituent of what? It is a constituent of polysaccharides and glycoproteins, and galactose is also a constituent of glycoproteins and glycolipids. Now coming towards ribose. So mannose is also an hexose. Mannose is also a hexose sugar. Ribose has 5 carbon atoms and has an aldehyde group. Ribose has 5 carbon atoms and has an aldehyde group, and it will be reduced to what? It will be reduced to ribitol. What will be reduced to? It will be reduced to ribitol. It is an important constituent of course RNA, ribonucleic acid, which will be important in the formation of proteins and nucleotides and so on, coenzymes NAD and FAD. It is responsible, it is also an important constituent of coenzyme. It is an important constituent of nucleotides, and it is of course important for RNA. So now coming towards ribulose. Ribulose is the keto version of ribose. Ribulose is what? It is the keto version of ribose, and it is important for HMP shunt. So D-xylose is present in glycoproteins and gums, while the L-xylose is present in it is an intermediate in uronic acid pathway. Okay, so D-xylose is an important constituent of glycoproteins and gums, while L-xylose is an intermediate in uronic acid pathway. The D-xylose, there is an inborn error of the carbohydrate metabolism, so the xylitol will be excreted in the urine, a disorder which we call as pentosuria, and it is, while the D-xylose is of course important for the functioning of glycoproteins. Now coming towards the D-lysose. D-lysose is an constituent of lysoflavin, which is important for heart muscles. Okay, so D-lysose is an important constituent of lysoflavin, which is important for heart muscles. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you find this video useful. Stay tuned and subscribe.